Okay, get ready for this because we are diving deep, deep, deep into ELBAF today.
Definitely.
And your research,
Oh, yeah.
it's got me so hyped.
Yeah.
Like seriously hyped
I bet.
for this arc.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at ELBAF through like this lens of Norse mythology.
Yeah.
And with all the hints Oda's dropped, you just know he's got something huge planned. Runes, prophecies.
Right.
Maybe even like a giant tree holding everything together.
It's going to be big, I know.
It'd be wild.
Yeah, you're right to be excited, I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
ELBAF has been like this legend whispered about in the world of One Piece for decades now, almost as long as the hunt for the One Piece itself.
It's crazy.
What makes your research, your deep dive so intriguing is that Oda, he might actually use ELBAF to finally answer some of those burning questions we have, like what was the Void Century? What are the ancient weapons all about? Maybe even like the very nature of their world.
Right.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But I think a good place to start would be with the giants themselves.
Oh, yeah, the giants.
They're so fiercely devoted to the sun god Nika, right?
Yes.
Which, knowing Luffy,
I know, right?
throws a bit of a curveball into the mix, don't you think?
Absolutely, because this is the guy who, like, he would rather, like, devour a mountain of meat than be called a god. Even if his powers are literally screaming otherwise. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not every day that you see someone a walking contradiction like that. Yeah. Especially in a society that seemingly worships the very power that he embodies.
Right. Like, how does that even work?
Exactly.
Just like the ultimate clash of ideals,
Definitely.
right? It makes you wonder, like, imagine Luffy.
Right.
This guy who champions freedom, scoffs at authority, and then he lands in this place, ELBAF, where Nika, literally the embodiment of his powers, is revered.
It's like, whoa.
Like, what? Yeah. How does he reconcile those conflicting views?
I don't know.
Especially if their culture, like, demands that he embrace this role.
Yeah.
He wants nothing to do with.
Right. It could be like a huge turning point for him.
I think so.
Forcing him to confront not just ELBAF's traditions,
but also, like, the true nature of his own powers.
Totally. Talk about an identity crisis.
Right.
And that makes you wonder, like, will his powers even work the same way in ELBAF?
Who knows?
What if the environment, the beliefs, even like the very air of ELBAF interacts with his devil fruit in these crazy, unexpected ways?
Yeah.
Like, this could be where his whole, like, devil-may-care approach to his powers gets a reality check.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And don't even get me started on that image from the arc's introduction. That massive tree.
Oh, it's true.
It immediately makes you think of Yggdrasil, right?
Yes.
The world tree connecting the 9 realms in Norse cosmology.
It's like, the moment I saw that tree, my mind went straight to Yggdrasil.
Of course. Knowing Oda.
This isn't just some random environmental design choice.
No way.
This tree could be the key to unlocking major secrets.
Like what?
Maybe even a pathway to parts of their world that we haven't even seen yet.
Right. What if it's like a literal connection between islands?
It could be.
Or a way to get to, like, the moon.
Who knows? Think about it.
I know.
Especially with Enel just sitting up there.
Right.
With his ties to ancient history.
I know.
Oda loves to plant those seeds.
He does.
And this feels like way more than just a coincidence.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be good.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Speaking of Oda and, like, planting these seeds and pulling from history.
Right.
There's something else in your research that, like, totally fascinated me.
Okay. Yeah.
The story of the Proetta.
Ah, yeah. A perfect example of, like, cultural survival, right?
Yes. Exactly. It's this, like, collection of Norse myths and poems, and it only survived because it was, like, disguised as fiction.
Right.
How wild is that, to think that these epic tales were almost lost forever?
Sure is.
And it got me thinking about Wano and how Oda used that arc to explore, like, themes of cultural erasure and the power of stories.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like, they're so intertwined.
It's a brilliant parallel, and it really speaks to Oda's ability to weave these seemingly, like, disparate threads, you know, into this really cohesive narrative.
Right, exactly.
You know, the prose Edda, it was disguised to protect it, and that echoes Wano's struggle to preserve its own history, its heritage.
Right, and it's like he's saying, like, even in a world dominated by power, stories have this way of enduring.
Totally.
Of like finding a way through.
Yeah, yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, if ELBAF is the next stop on this journey,
right,
what stories are going to be uncovered there?
Right.
And how are they going to like reshape our understanding of the One Piece world?
100%. 100%. And speaking of stories, you know, your research delves into some really like fascinating possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
When you start to think about the inclusion of these Norse figures.
Right.
Loki, for instance.
Oh, Loki.
Really caught my eye. You know, often he's portrayed as like this straight up villain.
Yeah, yeah.
But you propose a different take.
Yeah.
Loki as this like mischievous trickster.
I love that idea. And it fits so perfectly with those little Lego hints that Oda dropped early on.
Yes.
It's like he's like toying him with us.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
You know, like using those nods to Scandinavian culture to just like hint at something deeper.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
absolutely.
Like what else you got, Oda?
And if we're kind of like leaning into those cultural references, like what if he takes it a step further?
Yeah, what if he does?
You know, imagine this. Zoro.
Yeah.
Who is notoriously bad with directions.
Oh, you know, right.
Gets lost,
Uh-huh.
but not in like some ancient forest,
Right.
but a giant IKEA.
Oh my God, stop!
Right. It's like this playful nod to those Scandinavian stereotypes.
Yeah.
But it also creates like this hilarious scenario.
Oh, totally. I need to see that. Zoro trying to decipher IKEA instructions.
Yes.
While like battling mythical creatures. Come on.
It writes itself.
It does. It does. But okay, so back to Loki.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I love this idea of him being more mischievous than like straight up malicious. It opens up so many possibilities.
Yeah, it does.
Especially for Usopp, I think.
Usopp. The brave warrior of the sea.
Yes.
Or at least he will be.
One day. One day.
But you're right, Loki's presence could be that catalyst for Usopp's growth.
Right, yeah.
Like, what if Loki's trickery?
Yeah.
It's not about, like, causing harm.
Right.
But it's actually setting the stage for Usopp to shine.
Like, how would that even work?
Imagine, okay, Loki shows up, right? And his deception, everyone's fooled.
Okay.
But Usopp, with his sharp mind.
I know, right? You think so?
And his keen observation, he sees through it.
Usopp.
He's the only one.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Right. It's the classic, like, underdog story.
Yeah.
But with that One Piece twist.
I like it.
Where Usopp, the sniper who cries wolf, becomes the one person who can actually expose the truth.
He's not lying this time.
Right. And it challenges everyone's perceptions.
And he saves the day.
And potentially saves the day.
I love that.
It's like this moment where, you know,
right.
his lies actually become his strength.
Oh, that's good.
They allow him to see what other people miss.
Wow.
Right.
That's really good.
And we can't forget about the potential for Niflheim.
Niflheim.
The underworld.
Right, right.
Now, I know what you're thinking.
Yes, absolutely.
We don't want, like, some cliche trip.
Right, it's been done.
To the land of the dead, you know?
Right, yeah.
But what if it's not about, like, these grand spectacles and, you know, these huge set pieces? What if it's about something much more personal, like a personal journey, especially for Brook?
Brook in the underworld.
Think about it.
Now that's interesting.
He's the one character who's actually experienced death.
That's true.
Who understands that boundary between life and what lies beyond.
He's walked that line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine Niflheim as like a reflection of Brook's past.
Oh, okay.
A realm where he actually has to confront like maybe lingering fears or some kind of unresolved issue from his previous life.
Oh, that's interesting.
Wouldn't just be like a detour.
Right.
It would be a crucial part of his character arc.
Right. It would make it like really meaningful.
It adds a whole other dimension to his journey.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, so we've got Luffy potentially having like this existential crisis.
Yeah.
Zoro like building furniture in a mythical land.
It's great.
And Brook like having a therapy session with his past in the underworld.
I love it.
ELBAF is going to be wild. But you know what really stood out to me in your research?
What's that?
The runes.
Oh, yeah. Those runes, they're just begging to be figured out, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And you were talking about their potential connection to the voice of all things and like even Conqueror's Hakesi.
Right.
Could this be the arc where Oda finally gives us like the Hakasi rundown?
I think so.
Like everything.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. Given how important ELBAF seems to be thematically.
Right.
I mean, think about it. You've got these giants. They're like steeped in ancient traditions.
Right.
It's a place where like myths and legends, they just come to life.
Yeah. Like it just feels right.
And the runes, as this form of like ancient language, ancient magic,
right,
could be the key to unlocking these like higher levels of power.
Right, and like maybe explaining how they're connected to the voice of all things.
Exactly. It's like this giant puzzle.
Oh, I like that.
And the runes are those missing pieces that bring everything into focus.
I'm here for it. Bring on the runes.
Right. And speaking of mysteries, we need solved.
Okay, yeah.
We haven't even touched on that whole eye patch pirate thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
That Oda keeps dangling in front of us.
Oda, come on. Just tell us.
For years, fans have been speculating.
Oh, I know.
And now with ELBAF on the horizon, and with your research about, like, Odin's sacrifice.
Odin.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
For wisdom, it takes on a whole new meaning, don't you think?
You think Luffy's really gonna lose an eye in ELBAF?
It would be a bold move.
It would.
Even for Oda.
Right.
But it would be huge.
But then again, sacrifice is kind of a big deal in One Piece, right?
Oh, totally. And not just in One Piece, but in, like, myths and legends all over.
That's true. That's true.
Throughout history.
Okay.
And thematically, it would make sense, right?
Yeah.
With Odin's sacrifice.
Right, but what if Oda flips the script?
Okay, how?
Like, what if the eye patch isn't literal?
Okay.
What if it's symbolic?
Interesting. Like what?
Like, Luffy's sacrifice isn't physical. Okay.
It's something way deeper.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Right.
Like what?
Like he has to make a choice that, like, compromises his ideals. Or maybe he has to choose between what he wants and, like, the safety of his crew.
Ooh, that would be tough.
Right.
That kind of sacrifice, that test, you know, it's like way more impactful than just losing an eye.
Right. Because that's Luffy's thing.
Yeah.
Defying expectations.
He's all about it.
But let's talk expectations for a sec.
Okay.
Because you mentioned the Norns.
Ah, the Norns.
Okay. Trying to predict what Oda's going to do with them
I know.
is like a fool's errand. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Right. Like, good luck.
That's the beauty of it, though, right?
Okay.
It's the unpredictable nature of fate.
Yeah.
The idea that even if we get, like, a little glimpse of the future, it's really our choices that still matter.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's a theme that we see all the time in One Piece.
Yeah.
And the Norns, if they show up,
right,
could be like the embodiment of that whole struggle between destiny and free will, you know?
Totally. Like, imagine they show up and they give the Straw Hats this big prophecy.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe it's about Theil or like a warning about their ultimate enemy or something.
That'd be good.
And it's like, how does that knowledge, you know, mess with them?
Totally.
How does it influence their choices?
Exactly.
Do they just say, okay, and embrace their destiny? Or do they try to fight it?
Right. It's a recipe for disaster, honestly.
Yeah.
But also some really good internal conflict, you know?
So good. And your research touched on one more thing that I have to ask you about.
Oh, yeah.
The Filja.
The Filja, yes.
Tell me everything.
Okay, so in Norse mythology,
yeah,
Filja is like a guardian spirit.
Okay.
Often takes the form of an animal that's connected to a person's fate, their destiny.
Right, okay.
Now, apply that to devil fruits.
Okay.
But what if they're not just like magical fruits?
Yeah.
What if they're vessels that are imbued with like a fragment of a soul with its own will?
Okay.
You know, maybe that explains why they're so rare, why they have such unique powers, why some of them even seem to have like their own personality.
Oh, that's so interesting. Because like we've seen those little quirks.
Totally.
With devil fruits, you know.
Yeah. Like what if the soul inside the fruit can influence the user?
Yes.
Maybe even try to like nudge them toward a certain destiny.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Right. It adds a whole other level.
It does.
To this whole thing.
Devil fruits as fragments of a larger consciousness. That changes everything.
Right. We're talking next level stuff here.
Next level. I'm obsessed. Okay. I know we could talk about this for another hour.
We could.
But sadly, we're approaching the end of our ELBAF deep dive.
I know. Time flies when you're having fun, huh?
It really does. But okay, last question, and it's a big one. What happens after ELBAF? Like, this feels huge.
Yeah.
Like, this is the bridge to the end game.
You're right to feel that way. ELBAF can't just be a quick stop.
Right.
It has to, like, launch us forward.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Maybe ELBAF is where the Straw Hats finally get all the info they need about Theil, like the real history of the world.
Okay.
Or And this is a thought that both excites me and terrifies me at the same time.
Okay, I'm ready.
This is where they suffer a major loss.
Oh, no.
Like a real blow.
I know.
That reminds them that, like, the path to the One Piece, it's not easy.
It's paved with sacrifice.
Exactly.
You have officially given me chills and a ton to think about.
It's going to be big.
It is. Any final words of wisdom before we leave ELBAF and sail into the unknown?
Remember, the journey is just as important as the destination.
Okay, I like that.
Keep theorizing, keep questioning, and most importantly, enjoy the ride.
So well said. And to you, dear listener, keep those theories coming. Your deep dive has, like, opened up a world of possibilities. Yeah. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds in this crazy, epic saga that is One Piece. Until next time. Happy sailing.